It's impossible for people to escape from this 100%.
No. Because the answer is no. I mean, we try to escape from it, but I'm just gonna say no.
I think that people are starting to look beyond just the looks to check the abilities and the personality of people.
We are judged on a daily basis on the way we look, the way we dress, the way we walk, the way we talk.
Shooters asks. In the long term, if we judge people by appearance, it can turn into discrimination in different kinds of form.
Hello, sweetheart. Okay, thank you very much. New shooter's card.
I think it will be difficult, but if we free from Lookism, it will be really nice.
I think we can be free from Lookism. I think it's difficult, but I think if we try, we can be free from it.
Welcome to Shooters. Hope you had all good week. Yes?
Great week.
Yes.
Very good. And may I say, you all look very nice today.
No,
Particularly
thank you
so.
very
Then
much. You as well.
nice sort of natural segue into our topic for today. Do you think your appearance can play a part in how successful you are in life? Or are you sick of society being obsessed with looks? We're talking about lookism, a word that's often stirred up some controversy, but also one that we can't seem to escape from. And today Shooters is asking, can we be free from lookism? So, lookism, a term I'm not sure that everyone is familiar with, but on the internet it's used to describe maybe a prejudice or discrimination based on one's physical appearance. So for example, if you see a very beautiful person, you may think that they are naturally nicer or maybe smarter, or if a less physically attractive person, you might think that they're less nice or even less skillful. So some prejudices or discrimination depending on your looks. Now that being said, have you experienced that not only in Korea but in your home countries as well? Where people will treat you, look at you differently depending on how you present yourself appearance-wise?
There was a TV show that I watched comparing a man dressed up homeless and man dressed up as a general. And they were both walking and then they fell on the ground to see people's reaction.
Right.
More people tend to help a guy wearing
This uniform.
a uniform than a homeless guy. And it was very predictable, you know. But at the same time, they did another test where it was just a regular citizen, just t-shirt and jeans, and again, uniform. And it was, again, more for the uniform.
Well, that's kind of from the looker's perspective. How does the onlooker view that person? But there's also how you feel. So when you go to a job interview, or if you're going to, you know, like a high society party or something like that, dressing the part makes you feel the part more too, right? Like it's great to feel really on point when you go into an interview.
Right.
Of course, looking sharp and being handsome or pretty, you know, that's not going to make you feel confident about getting the job. But if you've prepared, you also want to do yourself the justice of making sure that nothing in your appearance gets in the way either, right?
So I think that the problem lies, though, if there's two people who have prepared the same and both dressed as well as they possibly could, they've both polished their shoes and pressed their shirts, but one of them is just genetically less appealing or less attractive than the other one. And then the people who are making the decision choose the person who is more genetically appealing.
Right. But if they have the same credentials, then it really, maybe it's not such an issue. But what if the genetically more blessed person has fewer or slightly worse credentials and they still get chosen?
Yeah, so I think we're talking about what premium do we put on, what value do we attribute to people who've won the genetic
Like
lottery.
you do have to consider that some positions or some jobs do require like
Yeah.
slightly more attractive people because they would want to attract other people
Like
as well.
sales,
So yeah, exactly, sales or like service industry. So when you're kind of the face of the company, right?
Well, and it goes both ways too. I think that thing about I mean, there are some jobs where it is a requirement or it's stipulated, and there's some jobs where it shouldn't be. And I think that that's a big part of it is in jobs where it should not be a factor, then it should not be a factor, right? And one thing that's interesting to me about it is it's not always just a handsome or prettiness scale. It's different sexes bring different things to the table. People with different like experiences. Like I was thinking about this thing. Like there's certain faces that I just am less comfortable with than others. Not like a handsome or prettiness thing, but if like bad experiences that I've had in my past, the way that certain people looked, a memory of that. And I was reading research on psychologists who check this.
Read
Is
that too.
you could have a bad memory of a certain type of look, and it could turn you off in the future
Because
too.
you're-
So we all
yeah.
carry so much to these.
Your brain
situations.
associates that face with something, a bad
Right.
memory. Happens to me too.
I don't think lookism is all about how pretty or handsome you are. I think it's all about attire, gesture, and facial expression, and the history of your life. I believe so, because not just because you're only handsome and pretty. I mean, it's a very big plus being handsome and you're blessed pretty much. Like look at him, like blue eyes.
Charles, look at yourself. Look at you. No,
Well, I
I'm
changed
sure you
too.
do,
Seriously, I
right?
would love to show y'all like how I used to look like. Really, I have a big change.
With the acne, we'd like to see
Oh,
that too.
acne.
Yes.
I mean, I would love to get a like proactive commercial too after this. I mean, big acne's everywhere. Every time when for example, in high school, I fell in love with this one girl, and I went up to her, hey, Stephanie, how are you doing? She goes, ugh, what's wrong with your skin? It's like, do you use proactive? Because you know that was a proactive boom that time.
Mean Stephanie.
Like Jessica Simpson was like proactive everywhere. I'm just like, jeez, I have to buy that proactive. And then I use it on my skin, and within 2 months it cleared off, and it was better. People are actually complimenting me. Wow, your
What
skin
did
got.
Stephanie do?
What did Stephanie say?
Yeah.
I dated her. For
But
1
that's
year.
also sort of like health improvement as well, because somebody is improving their health lifestyle is also integrated from.
That could have an
And
impact
the
on your
whole-
appearance too, yeah. But I mean, we talked about before like job interviews, and I mean, plastic surgery was a topic that we discussed here on the show before, but we've heard so many cases where someone gets addicted to plastic surgery and they'll do it 20, even 30 times to try to achieve this maybe quite unnatural look, but it's their idea that's in their head. Yeah.
But
I
that's
feel
also-
like, sorry.
But these are just cases. I think there's a lot of people who had plastic surgery and then got opportunities, jobs, they start dating life, they start like good social life. So it's sort of kind of the outcome of it is improved their lifestyle. I don't think it's a bad thing.
Yeah, it's really case by case. I think plastic surgery is one where it's really the person. I mean, there's some instances it's like, who are you to tell someone what they should or shouldn't do with regards to their appearance? I think there's a lot of problematic things about it. I think one of the most important things is like going into it with the right frame of mind. And that's one thing about lookism in general that it's just, I think that's what makes everyone uncomfortable. Like, everyone knows that beauty is only skin deep, but if, depending on how serious this is in someone's life, it can be a huge problem for them, right? But I'm very far from being the one who could play judge on if someone should get surgery or not,
Also on that, like it's the whole, I think like looks is a social construct, like beauty is a social construct. Like who gets to decide what's pretty or not? Like I have, like Benedict Cumberbatch, I think is like amazing and handsome. It's like, and my friends
Barry
like,
shakes his head.
No,
in
like see,
My
but
students.
other people would say like, he looks like an otter. Like,
He does, but he's still very appealing.
Right. So I'm saying that there are like men I find really attractive. My friends like, are you crazy? Like that's insane. So there's a differing opinions on the look. So I'm saying like
I think though,
should be-
it's strange. My students are obsessed with Benedict Cumberbatch as well. That he's really popular just now. But I think, having said that, so there are more available like versions of what is a handsome man
exactly.
than there are attractive women. I feel like the range of options for women is more confined or more strict.
More conventional, you mean?
Right,
Sort of
yeah,
the
so-
large eyes, the clear skin.
I think that's right.
Oh.
One of
You know,
my
have you guys
cotton
seen the-
nose.
have you guys seen the-
I would protest. My school right now, we have students from about 70 countries, and you just see them all gorgeous, like different tones of skin,
But-
different. They're
Within an
gorgeous.
individual
Yes.
country, I think there's more different types of men possible to be considered attractive than
Yeah.
different types of women.
Have you guys
I
seen the
don't know, maybe
movie
I'm wrong.
Austin Powers? You guys remember Austin Powers, right? Well, here's a picture right here. I'm gonna do Dr. Evil's voice. And it's in the scene, it says, he's a disgruntled Scottish guard, known for his lethal temper and his unusual eating habit. He weighs a metric ton. His name, Fat Bastard. Right, and as it's written here, and try to lose some weight for God's sake. And look at his face expression. Just look at that. Try to lose a weight for God's sake. And he just looks very negative. Well, I mean, just tell me, would you date this guy? Would you date this guy? Would you date this guy? Fat bastard.
I would get to know him first to see his
See the inner beauty, right?
He wants to eat mini-me.
Okay, well, we've been asking our audience to vote on this very issue online as well. Can we be free from lookism? So it's time now to take a look at the results. So the online poll overwhelmingly said, no, we cannot be free from lookism. I just want to read you some of the comments. From Indonesia, Laura said, it's impossible for us to be free from lookism, especially because the media has such huge power over our lives. Lookism has spread through media, and they give interpretation to people that lookism is normal. And from Korea, similar, we're living in a society that utilizes graphic images. So information exchanges such as broadcasting, education, business, etc. So both comments seem to talk about the role of media and how it has highlighted the importance of looks and appearances in our societies today. But do you really think it has gotten worse, or lookism has emerged because of this sort of media environment, or has it always been with us?
I do think that lookism has benefit Korea in one part. If you look at K-pop, a music genre that's been popular all over the world, but they don't understand the lyrics. Why? Because it's visually attractive.
It's not the music?
It's the music too, but it is very visual. And I mean, working with it, we do put a lot of emphasis about the visuals, which make people look as beautiful as possible. You work with all these people who are so beautiful, so I do think that it has benefit Korea in some parts.
I'm gonna give you a media example of first Hilary Duff. There are two examples of her personal life and how she was on the cover of magazines. You can tell, I'm not gonna explain too much about it because you can just tell the difference.
Photoshop?
Not only Photoshop, but then,
Makeup artist?
well, that could be the reason too, but that's also called taking care of yourself. Girls and these days even Korean guys, they put on CC creams. And even before our show, we had to go put on some makeup. Why? It looks better. Let's be honest. Every TV show that we've been to, we had a makeup artist. Did you know why we put on makeups?
For the camera quality to look
the
better. If you have
lighting.
different colors on your skin,
Skin
it
tone.
looks.
But what's the purpose? To look better, to look nicer.
So it looks, yeah.
Second
more
example
appealing.
is Taylor Swift. Gorgeous
Okay.
girl. But these photos, they don't look like Taylor Swift
Nice
that's
to
out in
see
the
this.
public.
No,
But-
I feel more confident about myself.
I know.
But look at the logos. Please look at the logos behind Taylor Swift. MasterCard and Hyundai would not use street Taylor Swift. They would love to use medias.
Okay, Charles, but you're talking about celebrities.
just an example.
Yeah, I mean, what about us normal
Okay,
people and
normal
our
people on
obsession with
Instagrams and
lookism?
Facebook.
So social media
Social
plays a
media
huge part?
plays yes, I agree because certain people that I kind of search up on Facebook, they have incredible amount of likes and followers. They're not celebrities, but they're called Instagram celebrities. They're called Facebook celebrities. And what's more crazy is they don't do anything in their selfie camera. They're like,
They just look pretty for the camera.
and they get like 800 likes, 900 likes, and guess what? the commercial companies contact them. Hey, could you post certain advertisements into your Facebook or Instagram, and we will pay some amount of
So
money.
you're saying lookism is a recent phenomenon?
Well, yeah, you asked that question
Yeah, I'm
earlier.
curious.
I mean, the phrase was coined in the 90s, I think, but I wasn't around 100 years ago. But my guess is that yes, it's always been there. It's like even when you read histories of like the old American presidents, the historians would always comment a lot on how they looked, and it wasn't just like his hair was like this, his features were like this. They would say outright handsome, ugly, and they actually seemed in many ways more comfortable with that. Historically, I think that it's morphed. I think that the entertainment industry has definitely exacerbated certain problems and made things worse. But I also think that it's something that's always been there. If I had to guess, this seems like an age-old thing.
So I completely agree with you. I think there's a Darwinian element to beauty, right? So we're just predisposed to try and choose mates who have a more symmetrical face or childbearing hips, or there's various physical, but it's true, right? So there's different physical attributes which we are sort of genetically programmed to find more appealing.
Talking about evolving though, I mean, don't you think that there might come a time where we go deeper? Just because there's a certain saturation point, I think, about a certain idea. And then after a while, you move on from that. And I think like the fact that we're being bombarded by all these images and now we're more aware of the other concepts of beauty or looks, isn't there maybe a point where we are like, we're tired, let's move on?
I think that is already happening a little bit in media too, because I've worked within the media here for over 4 years now, and recently I've seen a change of like, I think it came to a point when everybody started to look the same and the people were asking for other kinds of artists. But I do want to mention actor musicians. Two musicians that they look more traditional, they have no plastic surgery, and the kids, Korean kids, love them because she look naturally beautiful. She's very charming. In the Korean people start using more the word of charming, charisma, and also the more you get to know an artist that is really beautiful but has a really, really bad attitude or bad personality, bad manners, the public will stop liking them.
The diva complex.
To point that out, there's the new concept of the anti-Barbie. So this new toy company created this new doll that's actually more proportionate to how people look in real life.
Not this hip.
Yes, like it's because it's unreasonable. The proportions of Barbie is unreasonable. It's not sustainable.
Well, that's right. There's a famous thing that she would literally be unable to live, right, if she had those proportions.
Yeah, so then they put on this, they created this new toy that is more proportionate. It's more diverse in terms of color.
She can wear flat shoes too?
Yes. And so the kids, when they were asked, like, okay, so which toy would you prefer? And they leaned towards the more real representation. And they were saying, like, because we see ourselves in this type of toy, and it's more realistic, and we enjoy playing it with it more.
That's good news, because I think I read about one woman who actually tried to become a living Barbie. Yes, just she's been numerous plastic surgeries in her effort to look like a living Barbie doll. Didn't come quite close, and hopefully she won't try any further.
And she met the living Ken doll. And they
Yeah,
Honestly, like, let me
Well,
talk
it's a
about
happy
living
ending then?
Ken doll.
No, they didn't like each
they
other.
hated each other.
Well, these are probably some of the issues that we're going to discuss in the debate part of the program today, and it is time to divide up into the teams. So, shooters, you will need to decide whether you believe we can be free of lookism or not. So, who here believes that we can be free of lookism? Please raise your hands. The two women and Barry. Okay. Three men.
What's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with that.
Even stronger.
I don't know why you laughed.
Well, I
like
mentioned
Charlie's
it
Angels.
because actually women are probably more subjected to the discrimination or prejudice that can come with appearance. So it'd be interesting to hear your arguments. Well, it's time now to head into your respective armories and gear up, shooters.
Yeah. So.
beauty can be many different things.
Beauty ideals are literally impossible.
If you have beauty, like how much premium do you get in the workplace?
Yeah, so a good-looking man will earn over his career about $250,000 more than his least attractive counterpart.
Yes.
It's very dangerous to actually judge someone by its appearance, because then you will start to stereotype.
So why does it continue to happen?
Because media has given this model type of person that should be portrayed everywhere.
Can we be free of lookism? I think we can't be, but we should strain to be.
In reality, it's just never gonna happen. People always want nicer, 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 better, better, better.
They always want an upgrade of things.
It's a fact of life that people will judge you based on your appearance.
It's the first thing that people see on you.
We're being judged on a million different things at any moment.
Everybody's judging everyone.
Yeah.
We are back from the armories and hopefully ready now to begin the debate part of the show. Each side is convinced of their own opinions, 100% convinced, but each time the opposing team says something unconvincing, or convincing rather, or rational or reasonable, you will press on the minus button. And of course you can press on the plus button if your own teammate says something reasonable or persuasive. Only the audience and I will know where your gauges stand at any particular moment. Hope to see a lot of movement on those buttons. As always, we're going to ask the yes team to start off our statements. You believe that we can be free of lookism?
Of course, we can and we should, because it is very essential for our mental health and for society. If not, it's very dangerous. It can lead to racism, discrimination, and sexism. So we should be, and we are able to do it, to escape from lookism. Right, guys?
Yes.
You weren't so sure when you were talking
Yes,
about
do you want to add a little bit about
No,
that?
because I think like lookism is a form of discrimination. It's similar to discriminating against race or disability, because you're judging someone not by what they're capable of, but because just because you're disabled doesn't mean you can do something. Just because you look ugly doesn't mean you can do something. And we are moving towards a society of meritocracy, where we're basing, things on how well you do things and not just how you look. So I think there is hope that we can move forward from lookism.
Barry, do you want to add something, or should we hand it over?
I agree entirely. I think it's a type of discrimination, and like the other famous types of discrimination, we've made great advances and changes. Okay, so we've made advances in racism and in gender inequality and in homophobia, and I think we can just add lookism to that list of things that we're beginning to change. And I think just our argument is that it is possible. We all know that it's wrong, and we reject social programming in so many ways all the time. So I think on the very basic argument that it is possible, it clearly is possible if we choose to do it.
Okay, so the yes team saying lookism is a form of discrimination and it's wrong, and if we have the will, we can overcome it. The no team, your statement, please.
Well, lookism is always there, and beauty is a skin deep. I agree with that, but it's a first impression. It's a very first impression. And I'm not saying that we should judge book by its cover, but that's just the first thing we do, and it's a reality, and it's unfortunate. Just deal with it.
But you have to look at the fact that...
Sorry, Marjorie, is that the end of your statement? Deal with it. I just want to deal with it.
Well, I'd like to add something to that.
Okay.
I think if we were to say deal with it, I think that dealing with it doesn't need to mean throw your hands up in the air. I think it requires a greater awareness of what's going on with lookism. There's two people involved in that kind of an interaction. There's the person doing the looking or doing the judging. There's also the person being looked at or being judged, right? And that's really important to keep in mind. And when we're saying that we should not have, ideal society, there's no lookism, right? When you're judging someone, you should act in that way. But when you are being looked at, you need to know that that's the reality of the world today, or else you're going to have a hard time. And that's a fact that I think we all know. So that's the part that I feel like you have to deal with. You have to know that you're being looked at, you know you're being judged, like it or not. It's an unfortunate truth.
So you don't have to be a victim to lookism. You can also use it, being aware of it in a way?
Be aware of it, and I mean, hopefully you're not being judged like that. Ideal world, you're not. But you have to know that you are.
Right.
You have to know that you are.
In that way, you have to deal with it. That
Yes.
it exists,
Right.
and you can't
Racism,
escape it.
intelligenceism, classism, and even posture. Posture becomes very important. I remember my father telling me, every time when you're speaking in front of people, have a good posture. You look confident, you look better, you look nicer. I don't think there's a limit of what people, how much people want stuff. People always want something better and nicer and something positive. Everything has to be happier, and I don't think anybody would love to say, I want to be sad today, I want to be depressed today. For example, Angie, do you have a tattoo on your left arm and a right arm? Why did you get that?
I don't have.
Really? I would love to go there. Yeah, you have it. Why did you expose it out?
Wait.
I have tattoos too. I enjoy getting tattoos.
Because the sleeve is short.
But okay, during summertime, like you don't want to go out. You're
And you're
You're
bringing
very-
this up because?
because
Yeah,
it's a
I don't
lookism.
get
It's a
it.
lookism.
No, it's
because
not. The tattoo has a meaning. The
Tattoo's
words
a
of
meaning,
it.
but then you got it on purpose because you wanted to.
No,
I get
no,
Charles'
no, no,
point.
no,
I get
wait.
Charles'
I got
point.
the tattoo because of other personal purpose that happened in my life, and I wanted to remind myself to be grateful about those happenings in
But
my
you want to
life.
expose it.
And now,
It's
right
very
now, you're
exposable. I can see
judging
it.
this because you are judging me by appearance, by this
Lookism.
tattoo. Yes, and it's unfair because it's not true.
Okay, but you have to admit the other side of that argument, that if you have a tattoo, someone like Charles might bring that up in conversation in the same way that the way you dress is going to affect how people perceive you, what people will say about you, and like it or not, like that's the truth of the world.
I would just like to point out that I do agree that the initial, right now we do judge people based on their looks, but I think even media has moved slowly away from that. Look at the Dove commercials about using real women. And another one, I don't know if you have seen it, it's a Middle Eastern commercial. What they did was in a dark room, a couple of people were conversing, and it's like, okay, one was a Jew, one was a tattoo
that.
guy,
On social media.
yeah, exactly, and they had a different perception of how these people looked. And it serves to, I think, break down the stereotypes of what people are looking and how people are supposed to look. I'm just saying that we are moving away from that because so many people are breaking the boundaries of
Are you
what
sure
people
so
are
many
supposed.
people are breaking up? I don't think so. Majority of the people, they.
I think it's more because-
it's a very unfortunate truth. But let's say there is a job interview and one guy is very handsome, but he's stupid. Other guy is not attractive, but he's very smart. I'm gonna go for the smart guy, all right? But if they had both same knowledge and the other guy was very attractive, it's just a plus. It's an obvious plus.
Or depending on, and an important thing to point out here, or depending on the person judging them or the interviewer, it could also be a minus,
Right.
right? The point is, lookism isn't always necessarily about someone being prettier or handsomer. It's about the preconceptions and the ways that we judge people based on how they look. So I think that's an important thing to keep in mind. And the fact is that it's going on in either way. And the point, like, you're right, I think society has made a lot of progress. Even the fact that we just have this term sheds light on that. But it's talked about because it's real. Like, an example I have is one of our family friends is second chair violinist in the Grand Rapids Symphony Orchestra back in Michigan. And he was saying when violinists try out, the people judging should only be listening to their sound, and they know that.
Like
So
the
what they
voice?
do,
This is a Malcolm Gladwell story.
Okay.
Right? This is
oh, I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know if he wrote about that, but anyway, my dad's friend told us when they go out, there's a wall between them, or a curtain between them and the listeners, and also they put carpet on the ground so they can't tell if it's men's shoes or women's shoes walking there, because the judges know that they will judge not only on sound, but they are going to
course.
judge on appearance, even when they're trying not to. And that's the key. We should all try not to. But we all also need to be aware that we do, and we can't always put a curtain and a carpet
Right.
down like they do in that scenario.
Okay.
And I think that's kind of proof to me that it's there. And in our own brains, we have to do our best to think about that and consider that beauty is only skin deep and we bring a lot to it. But I mean, when people have good intentions and they still know that they're going to judge based on looks, that says to me that this is something that's going to be here for a long
All
time.
right. Well, on that point, let's take a little break and see if the street poll reflected the online poll as well. Let's take a look.
의미가 없다고 생각해요. 다른 사람이 어떻게 생각하든.
제가 상대방을 자유롭게 볼 수는 있어도 상대방이 저를 자유롭게 볼 수는 없으니까.
외모보다는 성격이 중요하다고 생각해서 되게 했으면 좋겠어요.
편한 인상이나 약간 좋은 인상들이 손님들한테 좀 좋은 인식을 심어줄 수 있고.
내면이 더 중요하다 생각을 하고 내면의 아름다움을 위해서 제가 진짜 더 가꾸고 있고.
주위에서 외모를 관리하는 것도 굉장히 강조하고 중요하게 생각하기 때문에 외모지상주의를 좀 따를 수밖에 없는 것 같아요.
요즘에는 외모도 실력이 되는 것 같아서 외모지상주의에서 자유로워지기는 좀 힘들 것 같아요.
못생기고 그런 것보다는 차라리 예쁘고 그러면 사람들이 더 친절하게 하는 것 같고.
So we saw that the street poll pretty much reflected exactly the online poll. Many more people thought, no, we cannot be free of this, of lookism as well, unfortunately. But not quite surprising, is it? Mohammed, you've been kind of quiet. What are you thinking?
Well, I'm thinking about a lot of things. This issue, actually, I think I understand why people would say no to. We cannot be free from lookism because it's there. We are judged on everything we do. For example, I always get comments on my eyebrows if I do them or not. But that sort of kind of made me think if you are what you do with your face. So. People with funky hair colors, that would show their personality. People with a fashion sense as well. I think, but for a personal story is that I grew my facial hair because if I shave it, I look like a baby. So I keep it just to give more
Serious.
age appropriate.
Well, I think there's a few things that we're talking about here, right? So this idea in terms of fashion, this idea that fashion is fun and people play with fashion, you might dye your hair or pierce an eyebrow or something. So again, that's an option that's open to everybody. But I think lookism is sort of something a little bit more malign, right?
When it comes to lookism, how do you differ lookism? How do you define lookism?
So I think when we're talking about lookism, we're talking about a more active kind of discrimination. It's not just
where does
appreciate.
lookism come into? Like,
Well,
for example, it could be physical appearance. It could be, like I said, postures.
it absolutely could be physical. It could be physical and just your.
Let me ask you, ladies.
Your
If-
superficial appearance. But hold on, sorry.
Yeah.
So when we look at the beauty ideals that we receive from media, so we've mentioned sort of Barbie dolls and we've mentioned Photoshop, how these images in magazines are created. These images are literally impossible for the vast majority of the population of the planet to achieve. Even if you are strikingly beautiful like Hilary Duff or Taylor Swift, at some point walking down the street when you're yawning or sneezing, someone's going to catch a picture. But so without Photoshop and you know Barbie, or we've been raised in a diet of
Then
Disney
what about
princesses.
people?
But
I mean,
let's let Barry make his point at least.
all right.
So I think that these ideals, okay, are very damaging, right? And I think that's what lookism is. Lookism is favoring a certain type of look or ideal in a negative way over other looks. I mean, of course, we all judge people when we see them, right? We all make certain types of evaluations, right? If someone came to work in my office and they were covered in food stains and an old T-shirt and holes, I'm going to think, this guy, you know, why is he coming to work like this? It's not appropriate. We can all do that, but it's this idea which is much more dangerous that there's these really high standards that if you don't look like, there's something wrong with you.
I think it's something that affects younger people. When I say that lookism is unavoidable, I'm talking about knowing that that's true in me and my friends' lives around me, and I'm not even really comparing that to entertainment industry standards. I'm thinking about employers, first impressions, meeting people.
Something
this
that
kind
you're
of
encountering every single day, right?
Right.
Okay, I know you're going to make a point later on, but I want to take the moon right now. It's time to go back into the armory because you have the chance to hear each other's arguments.
Okay.
So regroup, reorganize, and we'll come back after a while.
thing. Okay.
They keep on saying, oh, it's the unfortunate truth. It's the same words people would have said many years ago about racism.
I don't feel like in my personal life I treat anybody
Differently
particularly
because
differently.
a lot of the times it's not even about the actual looks, but it's how you carry yourself, your confidence. when you get to know someone, you stop seeing their
I
looks.
think it fades, yeah. Appearance doesn't necessarily indicate inner character.
People discriminate against people for so many reasons, right?
Even if you stop judging, there are people who will not stop judging.
Definitely.
There's nothing wrong with looking good.
I mean, at first impression, we all go with attractive on first impression.
I think we should mention that.
So you're back from the armories for the final debate, but before we go into the really bloody part of the debate, I wanted to ask, because we have 2 women on the panel and then 4 guys, and I mentioned before that women, I think, tend to be, or we are probably perceived as being more judged for our appearance. We probably spend a little more time on our appearance. You know, we have longer hair, et cetera, but I was just wondering, for the guys, do you feel the pressure to look good? I mean, obviously for some of your professions, but for Barry, I mean, as a professor, do you sometimes, oh no, it's my brains, it's my ability to speak that should be more important than your looks? So do you spend less time, or how much pressure?
Of course, those things you mentioned should be more important for you to be able to do your job well, but at the same time, you do have to dress appropriately for the situation you're in. So, like I said, if I had a colleague who came into work and you know, they were wearing old clothes with holes in them, or I'd think, wow, this isn't a professional way to come into the office. So when I'm going into the office, I don't spend like a lot of, you know, an exorbitant amount of money on my appearance, but I press my shirts and I press my trousers and I polish my shoes, and you look passable and professional, right? You don't have to look like a catwalk model or wear a £1,000 Armani suit, you know, but you look professional and you look presentable.
Proper Scottish man. Polish my shoes.
Wear my trousers.
But I think I think that's fine, right? That's okay within the realms of reasonability.
And do you feel the pressure a lot too to maintain your appearance?
Like I mentioned earlier about my skin problem, well, I do.
Former problem.
I do take care of my skin very much, and I've seen some improvements. And not only that, I recently just shaved my hair, and now that I'm growing it back, I am not happy with it very much because
I think it looks good.
Thank you, darling. But I'm not very happy with it because I used to have longer hair and I could style it the way I wanted to.
Why did you cut it?
When did I cut it?
Why?
Why did I cut it? Just another image that I want to have the stronger look, charismatic look. Because when I had longer hair, it was just very much of a, you know, those pretty boy types, and I wanted to change that whole atmosphere.
You're not a pretty boy anymore.
I don't think so.
We'd have to see it
actually, when
judge.
I cut my hair, I got a lot of calls from my clients telling me, you look like Russian mafia. And I said, why is that? Because whenever I'm doing a business, I get very serious face.
With the
That looks like the Zoolander. Blue steel.
Okay,
Yeah.
Danny, did you want to add something? Or?
I was gonna say I noticed it for me mostly in clothing and how I dress. So I pay a lot of attention, especially if I'm gonna be in the public eye, if I'm gonna be in front of cameras. I enjoy shopping and dressing anyway. I think it's a fun expression, but I've really noticed in the past couple of years how much it helps me in my career as a musician. Like, if to be on point stylistically and express who I am as an artist, it's really helpful. So, I mean, I've just noticed for me it's a tool, and I think that's where a lot of this issue is about what you want in life and what your field is. You know what I mean? To me, it's about knowing what you've got and knowing what you want in a lot of ways.
Making the most of what
know
you
I mean?
have, right?
Yeah, definitely. Because I was saying to the guys in the armory that if you're being judged on your intelligence in a certain situation, and the more intelligent person gets picked, the person who prep better gets picked, would we call that intelligenceism? Like, where would that stop? You know what I mean? And it's a fair question to ask, I think, and that could happen. And people are picked on their qualifications, so I think it's something to consider.
Okay, well, niceties over. Round 2 of the debate begins. He's sort of given you some food for thought. Would you call that elitism? You know, if you're flaunting your intelligence over someone, is that also discrimination?
Intelligence has more of a practical application in a much wider range of circumstances, though. So it is, by definition, almost the exact opposite, right? Your intelligence is what the things that you are capable of doing in the world. appearance isn't really affect a
How you
lot
would
of the
perform.
things
Really?
that they're
Also,
capable of doing.
In
sorry,
a Middle Eastern
can
country,
I-
one man was deported from his country for being handsome. That was his job his job was a model.
Oh, he was very good looking though.
Well,
He was all over social media. He was named, I think, dubbed the most beautiful man in the
well,
world.
after that, he was
We have to look
deported
him
from
up, or we'll have a photo.
his country. But
Sorry,
really
I mean, Marjorie wanted to make a point. Go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to make a point that it's about looks or intelligence or your capability, actually. And this is an instance, for example, in the airline industry. I remember when I was younger and I couldn't, it's like, oh, I was so disappointed because I couldn't be an air flight attendant because there was a minimum height requirement. And there was, and this is like, you had to fit a certain model, a certain look. And now that has become taboo. Like, that's not a requirement anymore. Now you just need to be able to fit a chair and to reach a certain vertical height. So it's not necessary, it's about how you're
Same
able...
thing then, height requirement
Yeah,
to reach
but now it's about how you can reach it because their
not your
earlier
appearance.
requirement,
Right.
yeah,
Okay.
because their earlier requirements, like, well, I can be 5'4" and reach it, but they were requiring people to be like 5'11" or something. Like that's surplus to requirements. So there's I think people, and there are laws to prevent lookism from happening. So I think it's very possible for us to move away from that fact.
Well, I agree that that's a great thing. I don't think that people should be, it's not for me to say really, but I don't think that stewardesses necessarily should be hired based on their looks. I think the main point of our argument isn't that should happen. The point is that we're judged on our looks in our individual lives all the time. And again, you mentioned that intelligence is a more proper thing to judge someone for. But I would say in many cases it's not. It could be elitist. It could, how someone is educated could have so much to do with their background, so many things around the control. And we're all born with a different brain. Just like we're all born with different bodies and different looks. And this is where I think it's really the issue. The issue isn't about saying that we can move beyond it as much as people needing to learn to accept themselves and be the best person they can be and know who they are. Because people are going to judge you. I don't think it's a good thing. I think that we should strive not to judge, but people are going to.
But this
in
is
some countries, I don't think lookism is even bad. In Korea, for example, seriously, like you guys are in Korea. Come on, give me a break. Really?
But
I do.
why isn't it bad?
Go ahead,
I mean,
Angie.
you guys are working in the industry of music videos, and you were working with also K-pop singers, right? And even sometimes you talk about Kim Jun, how pretty he is, how handsome he is. There you go. That's a
And a great actor.
And a great
There's
actor.
nothing wrong with looking good.
No, okay. So my point, what I want to say now is that you guys keep on saying the unfortunate truth. And that scares me a lot because many years ago, we were saying the same thing about skin color. It's the unfortunate truth about people. I'm sorry, but you're born with a different skin color. And what does that say about us and to our future generations? I'm sorry you're not born pretty. You will just have to deal with it.
Well, I have something to say about that. That is a dangerous way to look at lookism because racism or sexism, these are two other isms, right?
Yeah.
In both of those cases, no matter where you go, you are the race or the sex that you are, versus lookism where you could be judged, you know the feeling, you could wear a certain set of clothes or bring a certain appearance to one group of people and it would be praised, but if you go somewhere else, it wouldn't be, right? And this is one of those things where you have a certain amount of control over
Then
it.
do you also think that if you are naturally born with beautiful genes and beautiful appearance, you do get it easier than others? Do you get like a free pass?
I think on balance, it probably is. Even though sometimes people are jealous and envious of, attractive people, I think on balance, it probably is easier if you adhere to some traditional.
Then Barry, aren't you
value.
just arguing against your own sort of case?
I thought you were asking us.
Hypothetical
Over and
question.
above.
Society treats the person like that, right?
Danny was
Yes.
saying
Exactly.
that Danny was saying the fact that they're very diverse look means that lookism isn't very pervasive in our society. So that actually means that yes, we are moving away from that, right? You can change.
I'm listening to what Barry just said and what you just said, and yeah.
Maybe people don't want that. Maybe
No,
people.
but look at Shrek. Like the
Sorry,
whole.
go ahead. What do you mean?
I mean, like maybe people want to see beauty all the time. This is the definition of beauty.
I think this is an interesting study of this is about participants who were going through interviews, and for attractive applicants, the women received a more favorable opinion when it was men doing the interview, but when it was women being interviewed by women, the less attractive woman usually won the interview because they thought it was like a competition thing. So it's important to.
And they didn't hire them because of the skills. It was obviously because of competition.
They had identical skills?
In this case, the point was the men were unimpressed by male applicants' handsomeness, but women actually penalized female applicants for beauty, the study said, which is, again, it's just interesting. It's important, I think, to think about. It's not really as much a standard of beauty question all the time. That's an important part of it. But another part of it is, good or bad, people have judgments based on your appearance and a whole load of stuff that they bring to it.
It's almost like an animal gut instinct. Is that what you're saying, kind of?
But if we kind of
not. Is that what I'm saying?
I could see that argument if I'm playing devil's advocate.
Seems like it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think there's something that no matter how much you try to guard against it, people bring that to the table. And that doesn't have to mean that it's always judging someone and saying they're not handsome enough. Sometimes you're looking at someone and you're judging them as being too handsome or too much like this, too much like that. It's like, and studies like this only show it. I think it's not only about beauty, it's about just how visually we are as people. Like to say that I don't see appearances is like, it's a difficult thing to say.
That's
you know, like,
Stephen
I don't see
Colbert
you.
says, I don't see appearances.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
But I think there is a Darwinian element to that, especially in the way that interview relationship is set up, right? So the other men are your competitors, and other women for the women are their competitors, right? But we reject that type of programming all the time, right? Because we aren't just animals, we have higher instincts, and we know we should reject that. So
yeah. Which once again, that's where my thought on it is, we should not judge others, but we should be aware that we are going to be judged. And I mean, I would like a world that's free of lookism, but I just think I don't think it's going to be very possible.
I have seen the change. Like, for example, a couple of years back, 10 years ago, you see advertisements and for job advertisement, and they would say, like, you need to have your photo, but now it's not a requirement anymore. So I think we are slowly moving away from that and focusing on, like, what have you done? Like in your CV, that's the first thing you do. What are your qualifications? Your photo is not going to be there. And I think it used to be, right? So I think we're moving away from that.
But then when you get to the interview stage.
Yeah.
I know, but I think it's like, it's a slow movement, but it's a movement, right?
And speaking of movement, we've hit bullseye. And it's a tie. Which is quite surprising, I have to admit. I mean, the online poll and the street poll, it was so much in the no team's favor that I thought it'd be like a one-sided battle, but well done to the yes team just for even coming out even, I guess.
But I think that's a very good decision. It's a realistic decision which accepts the reality of the world which we live in, right? So I think we all agree that lookism is prevalent everywhere. It's saturated in society, but then at the same time,
it's going too far.
I don't think it's going too far.
And no, I guess it's more like people are more aware of it, so people are trying to slowly move away from it.
Yes, I mean, let's listen to the no team. And what were you moved by? I mean, what were you persuaded by? The yes team?
To me, it's just the fact that it's something. It's not a good thing. So where I'm coming from it on the issue is just, it's there, and we do it, but we shouldn't do it. And when the yes team was saying we can be free of it, I think it is better to have a more hopeful view about this, even if it does seem, even if there's part of it, I think it's people's inherent nature to judge.
Right.
But you know, I thought that they had a lot of good points about that.
Mohammed, do you think there is hope?
Yeah,
Yes?
I do agree with Danny on that there is hope, hopefully, on not judging people on their looks, but looking beyond that and see what's in there. Because
I would really appreciate and be happy with the media that shows more diverse people, that there is no specific model, that this is how you should be look like, and beauty is everywhere. Beautiful can be a person with humor or like a good charisma or being charming.
And I think also that would just encourage people to, and I think like Charles, you would really agree with this. Like, there's nothing wrong with trying to look your best. You should try to look your best, and it can make you feel good, and you should try to be the best that you can be on every level. But you shouldn't. But you shouldn't. But it's unfortunate when people go too far.
People are judging, you know. But it's a reality, and I've been saying it a lot. But appearance is a skill too, and just by looking better, and I think it's just. This is very difficult because you guys are all.
I mean, I think in the old days, I mean, having height, having strong bones, clear skin was a sign of how healthy you were. So the Darwinian aspect, you can't escape that, of course. But knowing that we have that inbuilt and also recognizing the limits of how much that shows our skills, our personalities, our abilities, and trying to overcome that sort of surface appearance is probably the lesson that we've learned here today. So if we came up with a unified statement, I don't know how would we incorporate both sides? Want to give it a shot? Anyone?
Well, I think we're accepting that, like we've just discussed, lookism is everywhere. Right? So lookism is prevalent, lookism is pervasive, but
we should strive to move beyond it. We should strive to look past it, or move in that direction.
I think that's exactly it.
We should
Very
go
well
beyond lookism.
Yes. So let's try to strive beyond lookism into infinity. Okay, well done, guys. That was the question. Can we be free of lookism? And the answer? Well, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. But that doesn't mean that we should stop trying to look beyond just the surface appearance. And with that, we've come to the end of another show. You can see us once again on the website, arirang.com. And of course, see you again here next week on More Shooters. Bye-bye.
Watch it.
Again and again.